Hey, hey! I have two questions for you today about your cervical fluid. First question is, are you producing a good amount of cervical fluid every month in your cycle? And the second question is, of the cervical fluid that you're producing, is there a good amount of fertile quality cervical fluid? So if your answer to these questions is either no or I don't know, you are in the right place for this video. I'm Stephanie Roth. I'm a fertility consultant and coach with YourFertileSelf.com, and today I am all about the cervical fluid. So, first question you might have for me is, why is cervical fluid so important? So cervical fluid is a crucial component of your fertility journey, especially if you're trying naturally. So cervical fluid is fluid that's produced in our cervix, and its sole purpose in life is to help during intercourse. It's to help the sperm get to where they need to go. So you're having intercourse or insemination, and sperm is inside your vagina, close to your cervix. That's not where the sperm need to go. The egg is waiting around inside your fallopian tube. So your sperms have to go all the way from your vagina, up your cervix, through your tubes to meet with the egg for fertilization. And the sperms are like really good swimmers, but that's still really a daunting task. That's a big job for them, so they need help. Enter cervical fluid. Cervical fluid helps the sperm get to where they need to go. Through that hostile vagina environment, it helps the sperm get to where they need to go to do their job to fertilize the egg. So it is a crucial part of your fertility journey, again, especially if you're trying naturally. And it's very important to have a handle on your cervical fluid. A, how much you're producing, if it's an adequate amount to help the sperm get to where they need to go. And B, is it of the right quality? Cervical fluid changes throughout our cycle, and fertile quality cervical fluid is the most effective at helping the sperm get to where they need to go. So I made another video a few months ago all about the different types of cervical fluid. Cervical fluid changes throughout your cycle. So I made a video a few months ago about the different types of cervical fluid, what you can expect to see at different times in your cycle, and what the properties are of fertile quality cervical fluid and how to identify that. So if you haven't watched that video, I strongly suggest you go back and watch that and then come back, because today we're all about how to improve your cervical fluid production if you in fact do need to do that. So today we're going to talk about how to increase the quantity of your cervical fluid if you feel like you're not producing enough, and how to improve the quality of your cervical fluid so that you're making more fertile quality cervical fluid during the appropriate time of your cycle. I've got 3 top tips for you on improving your cervical fluid production, and I'm going to go over them with you today. So this was an issue for me on my own fertility journey. As you know, I didn't start trying to conceive until I was 41, almost 42. And I remember when I was younger, I made a lot of cervical fluid. I mean, I remember there being very vast quantities of cervical fluid. And of course, back then, I didn't really even know what it was. But as I've gotten older, I found that I produced less, and this was an issue for me during my own fertility journey as a woman trying to conceive in her 40s. It's kind of ironic, I spent my 20s and 30s like not wanting to get pregnant, and that's when I had the most of the cervical fluid. But as I got older, you make less, and so I needed to research and understand ways that I could improve both the quantity and the quality of my cervical fluid. And I discovered these 3 top tips, and I'm going to share them with you right now. So tip number 1 is hydrate. Hydrate. I can't say it enough. Hydrate. Cervical fluid is like 90% water. It is a water-based substance. It is primarily made of water, so we need to drink lots and lots and lots and lots of water to produce good quantities of cervical fluid. So if you find that your cervical fluid production is scant and you don't make very much, first thing, just start drinking more water and up your water intake. Upping your water intake doesn't all happen through drinking water. You can also do it through food. There are so many foods that are high in water content. Cucumbers, melons, watermelon, all of those fruits, they're all high in water. Soups obviously have a high water content. So you can up your consumption of those foods as well. But water, 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 water. Up your water intake. The recommended amount of water to have every day is half your weight in ounces, half your body weight in ounces. So, for example, if you weigh 150 pounds, you want to be getting 75 ounces of water every day. So water has so many other benefits for our health and our well-being, as well as for our fertility. So water is a great place to start. So drink your water. Second tip number 2 for improving the quality of your cervical fluid is you can take a cough syrup with an expectorant called guaifenesin. So this is all a long way of saying that you can take robitussin every day. So robitussin, the active ingredient in robitussin is an expectorant called guaifenesin. And guaifenesin has been known to kind of thin out mucus in our bodies. I mean, that's why we take it when we have a cold. But it doesn't just work for the mucus like in your chest. It helps your cervical fluid as well. It helps to thin it out, break it up. So if your cervical fluid is very, thick and pasty, even during your fertile time, you can take robitussin to help kind of break it up and thin it out. We want that very thin, stretchy cervical fluid that's like egg whites. That's the most fertile quality cervical fluid that we have. And robitussin can help to like break up your cervical fluid if that's an issue, if it's too thick, if that's an issue during your fertile window. So a couple key things to remember about taking robitussin is you want to take just regular robitussin. So you don't want robitussin with any of the letters behind the name because those robitussins actually have ingredients that will dry up your cervical fluid. So it will have the exact opposite effect of what you want to achieve by taking it. So just make sure that it's plain robitussin, no letters behind the name, and on the ingredients list you want to make sure that it has an expectorant called guaifenesin as the active ingredient. So you can take 2 teaspoons of robitussin 2 or 3 times a day. I would say beginning around day 8 or day 9 of your cycle through ovulation. So you want to be taking, if you want to take this, you want to be taking it kind of approaching that fertile time of your cycle because that's when you're going to be producing the fertile quality cervical fluid. So robitussin is another option, and this is an option that I turned to quite a bit on my own fertility journey, and I did notice a difference in my cervical fluid during that time. So this really can work. So tip number 1 was water. Tip number 2 is robitussin, and I wanted to add about the robitussin that it doesn't have to specifically be robitussin. Robitussin is a brand name, so you can take any sort of cough syrup that has guaifenesin as the active ingredient, and again with no other decongestants or none of the other letters behind the name. So it can be robitussin, it can be like your generic, CVS brand, as long as it has guaifenesin as the active ingredient. All right, tip number 3 is coming from me, of course, a dietary tip. I have long maintained that food is like the best medicine that we have. And yes, there are foods we can consume to improve our cervical fluid production. Primarily, you want to make sure you are getting adequate amounts of omega fatty acids in our diet. So omega-3s, omega-6s. What these do, omega-3s and omega-6s they have so many benefits for our health and for our fertility. They help with hormone balance, which helps to regulate our cycles, normalize our ovulation, which is so huge and so key for trying to conceive. And issues with ovulation are like the #1 leading cause of female infertility. So anything that can help regulate our hormones and normalize our ovulation is going to really get us way ahead of the game in trying to conceive. And omega-3s and omega-6s specifically help also to increase our production of the good quality cervical fluid, the egg white stuff, the fertile stuff, the stuff that we want to see during that fertile time of our cycle. So getting adequate amounts of omega fatty acids is a game changer. So what are the foods that we can be eating to help us improve our omega-3 fatty acids? Nuts, seeds, almonds, salmon. Salmon is a great source for omega-3 fatty acids. Seeds and nuts are great snacks. So almonds, sunflower seeds. You can just take some of those for your snack, and you've gone such a long way to improving your cervical fluid production. Flax seeds are a tremendous source of omega fatty acids, and these are flax seeds right here, and you can put these in your smoothies, sprinkle them on your salads, sprinkle them in your soups, and they don't really have any taste, but the nutritional benefits and the benefits for our cervical fluid production and for our fertility are immense. So this is kind of a no-brainer. Now these are whole flax seeds right here. I bought these whole, so you can see these are whole seeds. You don't want to be eating the seeds this way. Our digestive system has trouble digesting whole seeds. So what you want to do is you want to grind these up. You can use a coffee grinder, you can use your Vitamix or another blender, but you want to make sure you grind these up before you sprinkle them on your soups or in your salads or put them in your smoothies. But omega-3, flax seeds are an amazing source of omega-3 fatty acids. So you definitely want to pick some of these up. You can get them from Amazon, from Thrive Market. So you definitely want to pick some of these up. So, in a nutshell, 3 top tips for improving both the quantity and the quality of your cervical fluid are: 1, to hydrate through drinking more water and eating foods with high water content. 2, you can take robitussin or another cough syrup with the expectorant guaifenesin to help thin out your cervical fluid production. And 3, you want to consume foods that are high in omega fatty acids. So I hope this has been helpful. I'd love to hear how these suggestions work for you. I actually implemented all of these on my own fertility journey where cervical fluid was an issue for me, and I saw a marked improvement in both the amount of cervical fluid I produced and increasing quantities of the really good fertile quality stuff that we want to see during our cycle. So I'd love to hear how these work for you. Leave me a comment below, and if you have any questions, you can leave a comment below, shoot me an email. I've produced an ebook, 101 tips for boosting your fertility. It includes these tips in there as well as all kinds of other simple, quick, actionable items, things that you can do right now to start improving your fertility. So I've put the link below. Go grab that book and start doing things today to help improve your fertility as well. So I hope this has been helpful, and I look forward to seeing you again sometime soon. Bye-bye.